Welcome to the new CD and vinyl review section. 8 reviews for you this time around. Halfy, 4 CDs and 4 vinyl record reviews. And I'd like to dedicate this particular video to a channel member, a certain Microphony. I hope that's how you pronounce your name. Microphony asked in so many words, wherefore art thou CD and vinyl reviews? Because I haven't published one in a little while. So thank you for the nudge, Microphony. Your wish is my etc, etc. And in this video we're going to start with CDs, so let's get on with it. This first CD review isn't really, it's a pair of CDs. Actually, it's even more than that because I want to reflect on the label itself, Koko-Mojo. It's a label which doesn't really get the love it deserves, and it really deserves lots of love. What we have here is Rock and Roll Vixens, volumes 1 and 2. Now, as I say, I want to look at both of these CD titles, but I also want to talk briefly about other new label releases and the label as a whole. Previously known as Rockstar Records, the company was founded in 1979 and has an appreciable history. If there's one thing I can call Rockstar, it's authentic. The music they produce is core material. There's no messing around. For the Koko-Mojo imprint, and I'll put a link in the description, the company produce, quote, killers, while they let other labels, quote, produce fillers. See what they did there? Cocky devils they are too then, hey? But there's plenty to back up their boast, because they tend to go towards the dark side of rock and roll. They go for raw. They go for the nasty, often mixing R&B, blues and soul along with that rock. This is hard drinking music, primarily compilations. The label selects prime cuts that, unless you're an aficionado, most people will never have heard of. There are 25 tracks dedicated to each of these Vixens CDs, and they're aimed at African American ladies, and we're talking early 50s all the way through to the mid 60s, contained within gatefold digipacks and displaying evocative images and featuring the likes of Lillian Childs, Helen Bryant, The Cookies and Jay Duval. The music is meaty and full of compressed gravel. Witness Sinner Strong's energy-packed rocker as a prime example. There's plenty of other volumes to enjoy here though. The Rock and Roll Kittens series, the Southern Texas bred R&B rockers. There's also Let's Throw a Rock and Soul and the extraordinarily mean Boss Black Rockers series. All span multiple separate volumes and are all right there in your face, challenging and poking a finger in your chest. Just listen to Sapphire on the Boss volume, a vocal cord shredding, paint stripping performance. Phew! Next up is a box set, and it's from Barbara Thompson on the Repertoire label, and basically this is her work live on the BBC. She plays both sax and flute, and she's been at the forefront of British jazz and jazz rock for decades, in the twin roles of bandleader and co-conspirator with many other artists. And let's not forget, she was deep into British jazz rock. She was, after all, the wife of Colosseum drummer, the much missed John Heisman. They jumped the broom back in 1967. She even performed with her husband's band. She also accompanied the likes of Neil Ardley around the mid-60s and was part of the important United Jazz Plus Rock ensemble alongside iconic figures like Ian Carr and Kenny Wheeler, plus her husband Wiseman. Gaining confidence, she then launched her own groups. Paraphernalia was active in the 90s and noughties. The group Jubiaba was another venture but added more Latin vibes. Thompson does have a classical background though, so she's not afraid to retain contacts with that work. Witness her theatre productions, for example, and this despite her Parkinson's disease diagnosis, and that diagnosis has certainly not slowed her down either. There's a biography on the way, and there's a new album due out this very year, featuring, quote, up-and-coming musicians. This 14 CD box set ranges from 1969 to 1990 and includes a live concert by the New Jazz Orchestra introduced by Humphrey Lyttelton in February 1969 to a set of paraphernalia featuring John Heisman and keyboard player Pete Lemmer, or Lemmer, not sure, dating from June 1990. There's a host of rarities here. For example, 5 movements for jazz ensemble in 1971, conducted by Neil Ardley and introduced by Ian Carr, several broadcasts from the mid-1970s by Juby Arber, and many sets by paraphernalia. Jazz critic, broadcaster and sax player Dave Gelly adds 36 pages of liner notes. It's a magnificent set, packed with insight, creativity, delightful performances and basic great value with over 27 radio shows. Next is Toe Fat, a strange name for a band, called Bad Side of the Moon. It's an anthology from 1970 to 1972 and it's from the Esoteric label. Toe Fat are one of those bands that you think you know, you've heard of in passing, you've read about them somewhere, you have a memory, maybe. Toe Fat, you see, were never really front and centre as stars, but they were there. As such, and I don't mean to be negative here, but you could call them rock journeymen. What I mean by that is they were solid performers and they were part of the core of the genre. The band began in 1969 by ye old beat rocker Cliff Bennett. Bennett was an experienced performer even then. Blimey, the guy was there with the Beatles in Hamburg as part of the Rebel Rousers. His band was managed by Brian Epstein, for goodness sake, and even backed by Parlophone. They even had a big hit with the Fabs' Got to Get You Into My Life. Bennett should have been a big star, and yet he later teamed up with the ex-members of The Gods, called his band Toe Fat, which is a bad move surely, what were they thinking? And launched into a combination of blues rock and early prog. The music wasn't exactly commercial, while the band's presentation was worse. The sleeve art, for example, was a right turn-off. After band shuffling, the group lasted until 1972, with Ken Hensley and drummer Lee Kerslake moving on to form Uriah Heep, while bassist John Glascock ended up in Jethro Tull. But then didn't everyone? It was either going to be that, Yes, or King Crimson, surely. This multi-gatefold release features 2 CDs featuring Toe Fat 1, 1970, and 1971's, and I'll pause so you can guess the title of this one. Yes, it's called 2. The former looking back to 60s blues-based rock and less to the oncoming hard rock wave. The first LP is nevertheless melodic and it rocked, in a sort of Steve Marriott kind of way. The sequel may have lacked the direction of the debut, but there's still much to admire here in terms of the album's energy and passion. Next is Dance of the Black Tattoo from the rock band MAGNUM on the SPV label. MAGNUM, eh? Phew, sheesh, blimey. It's been a while. Emerging, soot-ridden from the chimney-strewn bowls of Birmingham back in 1979, with the tones of hard rock shining in their flowing locks and on nodding terms with the new wave of British heavy metal, the band hit gold with the album Chase the Dragon in 1982. Hits followed. MAGNUM were a thing. Their star rose during the 80s, after the release of several albums, only to quit and split during 1995. Then they decided that actually 1995 was a really bad idea after all. So they got back together for 2002's Breath of Life and added a pop tinge from their earlier side project Hard Rain. Sure, the lineup experienced a reshuffle, but these things happen. It's been a long road, folks, from the Brummy nightclub The Rum Runner back in 1972 when they used to back Del Shannon. Even so, here we are in 2021, sans pop tinge and a new album. This one looks at live material and radio edits that range from 2014 to around about now, including a CD first for On Christmas Day and Born to be King, polished and remastered, plus rarities. It's a companion piece to 2017's more balladic Valley of Tears, if you will. Some will cry foul because a few of these tracks have appeared already as bonus cuts in other sets, but this collection actually notes that fact. This release is a sort of roundup of those rarities and is ideal if, as a fan, you only wanted the rarities in the first place and not the other original content. So yes, one for the fans, and yes, half of the rear printed track listing is too small to read, but it remains a solid and intriguing collection. And we're halfway, and that's the CD sorted, so let's get straight to the vinyl. First up is the Pie Girls from Music on Vinyl, subtitled 32 Brit Girl Tunes of the Swinging 60s. The 1968 cover illustrates a model. I have no name to offer, I'm afraid. There are two policemen who are no doubt considering arresting the said young lady for daring to wear a two-piece skirt and jacket in a built-up area, and who is in the process of defacing council property. Included in this colourful gatefold is an exclusive print of another model, which is becoming a habit. Both this and the cover are very nice, don't get me wrong. They're great as a piece of cultural and fashion history, but a complete waste of an opportunity in terms of this particular compilation. I would have preferred to see snapshots of the included singers and more artist information on the featured insert, especially on the more obscure singers in this collection. You'll find 32 tracks in this compilation featuring a host of well-known names such as Petula Clark, Helen Shapiro, Sharon Tandy and Jackie Trent, plus lesser but no less fascinating names such as Antoinette, Tammy St. John, Val McKenna and Glo Macari. Yet even the well-known names insert a few intriguing slices here. Take Petula Clark. She includes Gotta Tell the World, a song from the album I Know a Place, a surprisingly Northern Soul-ish outing issued in 1965. Then there's another thumping, dancing Northern Soul groove edition from, of all people, Jackie Trent. She offers a quite superb rendition of You Baby as a fresh, energetic hip swinger. Don't make the mistake of ignoring the big names on this one. Highlights there include The Very First Day I Met You by Judy Cannon. Why? Well, because it was a Joe Meek production, an excellent beat outing and a very rare original single. Delaney and Bonnie and Friends on tour with Eric Clapton. And this one is from the German audiophile outfit Speaker's Corner. Delaney and Bonnie Bramlett were husband and wife and purveyors of some top quality blues, country and roots-based fare. Their approach to music soared towards the poles. On one side of the coin, the pair had an open and relaxing relationship with their music. If you had the chops, you were welcome to join the gang and enjoy yourself at your pace, without any pressures or hassles. With space to breathe and to express yourself in creative terms, this is the main reason why the pair attracted a series of famous friends to join their troupe. On the other side of the coin, the Bramletts, or maybe they should be termed the Brawling Bramletts, fought like cat and dog, with many people in the area being hit by the shrapnel. Despite the arguments, the music they and their friends produced was of high quality. This 1970 outing only lasted 42 minutes and spanned 8 songs, but the album is tightly packed with quality. The fact that Clapton felt free of the pressures of fame meant that he could spread his wings, and he certainly does that on tracks such as I Don't Want to Discuss It and Coming Home. One item of note, Clapton enjoyed himself so much that, if you take a look at the rear sleeve and peruse the lineup, you'll notice Bobby Whitlock, Carl Raddle and Jim Gordon all listed. The three of them would later become part of Derek and the Dominoes. In addition, you'll also find the likes of Dave Mason, Rita Coolidge, and Bobby Keys on sax, and he was associated with the Rolling Stones. There's also Tex Johnson, who appeared on Clapton's Crossroads album. He was on drums. Mastering, as ever, with Speaker's Corner releases, is excellent. This is a superb edition. And speaking of Eric Clapton, via Rhino Records, we have the Crossroads Guitar Festival in a rather nice box. Presented in a pizza-style box, this collection can be bought as a CD collection, but I took a look at the 6LP vinyl edition instead, featuring the slabs on vinyl in simple black inners, although thank goodness the inners are coated in soft plastic to protect the records. Also in the box is a full-colour 4-sided insert, the outer sides of which offer a melange of performer mugshots doing their thing, and within there's a track breakdown. The leaflet talks very briefly about the background to the box set and why it exists. The Crossroads Centre in Antigua is a centre to treat drug and alcoholic addiction. The box set is seen as a method to drum up finance and keep this facility operating. Other information is pretty short and sweet and includes the artists and their songs. Those artists include Sonny Landreth, Andy Fairweather Lowe, Bonnie Raitt, Keb Mo, Buddy Guy, Sheryl Crow, John Mayer, Robert Cray, Los Lobos, Jeff Beck, Peter Frampton, Vince Gill, Jerry Douglas, Mr. Clapton himself, and many more. It's quite a lineup of famous faces and a blur of guitar-picking fingers. This isn't the first time I've said this about a Crossroads box set, but if this set exists to support this drug and alcoholic treatment facility, then why aren't we seeing and hearing more about it? For example, what it does, how it does it, a few non-intrusive, non-personal images, interviews with doctors and other clinicians, its hopes and goals, its history, even a DVD profile. Why isn't Clapton talking about his involvement? Why isn't more being made of this invaluable marketing and educational opportunity? This set should include a 100-page book on the subject. It does not. The music is excellent. The performances are good. Fans will be pleased. But why give this facility short shrift? From Charlier and Cerise and the Multiquarium Big Band on the Naive label, we have Remembering Jacko. Released by the Parisian label, this French big band is led by the drummer André Charlier and pianist-organist Benoit Cerise. But it is Borelli Legrain, apologies if I've said that incorrectly, who has the unenviable task of assuming the Pastorius role here, and Legrain isn't even a bassist, he's more of a guitarist. That said, he is but a few degrees from greatness, because Legrain did play and record with Pastorius, and you'll find his moniker on the 1986 release Stuttgart Aria. We'll get to the music itself in a moment, but I must pay tribute to the band here, which performs magnificently in its own right, Pastorius or no. The clarinet work from Stéphane Schaus and the guitar chops from Pierre Pachot, again apologies if I've said these names wrong, are worthy of this collection amongst other fine contributions from their colleagues. More than that, this work is a true collaboration, because the music here has 4 arrangers from within the band itself. Special mention should be made of the track Fannie Mae, sung by Yannick Boudrouche. They're all here to challenge me, these names, aren't they? Who belts out the lyrics with energy and verve. As for the music, it looks towards Pastorius's solo entries, but also his work with Weather Report. So that means, for example, the likes of Continuum and Kuru, Speak Like a Child, from his solo outings, and Teen Town from Weather Report's Heavy Weather LP. Peter Erskine adds some spoken word excerpts in between the tracks, which I think are fine for live concerts where you only have to hear these things once. It might even add to the atmosphere itself at the time, but slapping it over 3 of the 4 sides of vinyl here ruins the musical flow. It would have been fine in a documentary, say, but not here. After all, he's no Gil Scott-Heron. Apart from that, this is a fine collection and a worthy remembrance. And that's me done. Thank you again to Microphony for giving me a nudge so I'd do this in the first place, and I hope you've enjoyed this extra bonus video this week. I'll be back with the usual video at the usual time, and I hope you can join me then. Until that time, and I hope to have your company then, until that time, as I say, bye bye for now.